January 15th at 7 p.m. So out of respect, please silence all cell phones, remove hats, and we're going to have a moment of silence and pledge of allegiance. Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We are aware of one member that will be recording. Do we have anybody else recording this evening? Okay, Peter, thank you. And Linda Walsh, thank you. So we're going to start with the approval of minutes. I'd like to move to approve the Board of Directors meeting minutes from December 3rd, 2024. Can I get a second?
I'll second that. I'll second that.
Should we get that on the record? Try to
Is
get-
this better? I second that.
Thank you.
There are a few
Any discussion?
grammatical errors which do not change the verbiage of the minutes, so I'll go to approve the minutes too.
Okay. All in favor? Oh, we got somebody out there. Are you watching the minute? Who's coming?
Mary Star, Unit 6. Richard, this may be one of you're referring to, but on page 5, second line from the top, we have Richard's last name down as Reese, R-E-I-S-S.
Right.
That needs to be corrected. It's an error. These are permanent records. They should really be corrected. Thank you.
Right. So put in that.
Any other discussion?
We all try to read, we all try to read beforehand all of the minutes and go through and correct anything.
All right. Sorry, I do think we do need to get them corrected. So Arlene, do you want us to move to make a motion on this and we'll just know that we have edits coming?
That's correct, yes.
Okay. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Moving on to the Board of Directors meeting minutes from December 18th. Okay, I move to approve the minutes. Can I get a second?
I second that.
Thank you. We have a discussion and it sounds like we've got some folks that would like to speak.
We have Linda Walls and Mary Story.
Linda Walls, Unit 4. Page 3, member comments. States that Millie and Linda Walls were the ones that initiated the contracts. I did not have anything to do with initiating the contracts. I received a phone call wanting to know if I could be up at the admin office at 2 o'clock. They didn't tell me why. I got up there, the contracts were already prepared. So I had nothing to do with initiating them. I didn't know that they were being done until I got to the office.
Okay, so we'll take that out.
Well, you admitted at the one board meeting that you signed 2 contracts?
I signed them, but I didn't initiate them.
Well,
I didn't know anything about them until I got up there and was asked to sign them.
okay,
We can make that
but you
adjustment.
were a participant in signing.
But I did not initiate the
Okay,
contracts.
So we can say you were a participant, but you did not initiate.
you can say that I signed them.
Thank you.
Okay. I'll omit that.
And on the last page, the last sentence, one of them is deceased and the other will not give us any information. Yes, one is deceased. I gave information to Arlene. An envelope was left with Millie, and an envelope was left for Dave and Henry with my spreadsheet and everything. If the other board members didn't get it, you need to check with them.
Thank you. Do you feel comfortable you've captured the necessary evidence? Okay. So, pardon me?
Did you get those envelopes?
I got an envelope. It didn't have my name or any instructions on the inside. It just had information inside.
Did she get hers?
Um,
Arlene?
Arlene, can you speak to the, did you receive information from Linda Walls?
I did get some.
Hello. All right, so yes, I did receive some paperwork, and I did receive the thumb drive. I did speak with Richard about it today. So Richard will be, coming into the office probably end of this week or next week to look what's on it. I did look what's on it myself, but Richard said he'd like to take a look at it as well. He only found out about the thumb drive today. I had it. But in my opinion, this might have been on me, it really had nothing to do with any of the financials, but that's just my opinion. So Richard is gonna take a look at it.
Thank you, Arlene.
Thank you, Mary.
Mary Story, Unit 6. Catherine, in the minutes of this meeting, you were asked who the HR person was, and you said the bookkeeper. Should the HR person not be the GM per the job description? She interviews employment candidates. She maintains, operates communications between the employees, assuring that they are treated with compassion and dignity and respect. She supervises all the employees, whether directly or indirectly through their supervisors. Wouldn't that be a description of the HR person and not the bookkeeper?
What page are you on?
I am on page 3, second line from the bottom.
Arlene, did we have paperwork that said who was our HR person?
I don't believe that we do, but I just can say since 2018, when I started, actually 2013, when Vivian started, it was always the bookkeeper. It was Amy Coleman and then Lane Price and now Vivian, so it's always been that the bookkeeper has been the HR person.
Because I remember, I can't pull all my stuff out, but I remember seeing that written out, and I just wanted to have you verify
I
that.
believe Mary's question is not that who is it, but shouldn't it be the GM? Is that
Well, I'm
right?
just saying that saying Vivian as a bookkeeper is kind of strange as an HR person. I would definitely think that would fall under the category of the general manager with a job description. So maybe the minutes don't have to be changed, but in the future, if we're going to refer to an HR person, we should be referring to them as Arlene, because that is more or less a job spec.
Okay, thank you.
Were you able to capture all the evidence? Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, can we get a all in favor?
I,
Aye. Okay, moving on. I move to approve the minutes for the board directors meeting limited agenda from December 23rd, 2024. Can I get a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, any discussion? Any comments?
We have Mary Story and Linda Walls.
I basically am just looking for clarification. Oh, sorry, Mary Story, Unit 6. I'm looking for clarification in the minutes from Richard. Page 1, 7 lines from the bottom. It's stated in the minutes that the $224,286.32 and the interest from Edward Jones would also be put into a reserve account, which should equal $941,260. That would make me appear that the interest from Edward Jones was $700,000. That's great interest. I'm putting my money in that.
Where's my check?
Where does it say about interest?
Page 1, the 7th line from the bottom.
Like where it starts, transfer of money from regions, that paragraph is referring
So to make sure that the interest payment accounts are also put into the reserve.
Right, but then you go on to say that should equal $941,000.
No, well, then it's an error because the interest would not equal that.
Well, that's why I'm
So-
questioning, so I think this needs to be clarified and cleared up in our minutes, please.
Sure.
And then I have one last request. When we're transcribing the minutes, could we, out of respect for both the board and the residents, use the parties' full names, not their last names only? I think it's just a little disrespectful to call somebody,
When I can understand them, sure, no problem.
well, okay, they're also on YouTube if there's a problem with the recording in that, but I think it just would show a little bit more respect to both the board and the residents to use our full names. Thank you.
Noted, thank you. Any other comments? Okay. Do you feel comfortable you've captured the edits?
Yes.
Okay, great. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Linda Walls, Unit 4. As far as the Spectrum money, there were 3 CDs at Brandon Bank, 2 CDs renewed monthly, 1 every 3 months. Those totaled $395,000. He put Jim put $488,000 into CDs at Edward Jones. He left $58,260 in the money market, and I have no idea why. The interest earned at Edward Jones, $4,418.51. Excuse me. The interest at Brandon Bank, $7,952.65. These were as of October the 19th, before I resigned. You have 1 CD that was maturing 11/1/24 at Edward Jones, 2 maturing at 12/26/24, and 1 maturing at 1/31/25, with interest paid at maturity. Were any of these cashed in before?
You don't mention the ones in December that came to maturity?
2, December the 26th, I said.
Linda, can I ask you a question? The point you're bringing up,
One of the
is it,
27?
hang on, Richard, hang on a second. Does this are you referencing the actual minutes?
Yes, because of the interest being wrong.
There's nothing mentioned about those CDs in these minutes. And there were 3 CDs in December.
Were they all Spectrum, or were some of them?
What is your point? What are you trying to?
I was just trying to clarify some figures.
Well, those CDs were put into other CDs, or if some of the money that I had to pay, some of the CDs were closed out in order to put money into the reserves at Capital City Bank, if that's what you need to know, for our saving over $200 and some thousand in taxes for that, thing that we went through our attorney about to help the community. And I hope you're not trying to hurt the community.
No, I'm not.
You know,
I just
so-
want the
so,
community to be aware of some things.
Okay, then,
I'm quite aware.
so have you picked up? There's nothing that really changed in here.
There's nothing referring to that.
Okay,
Okay? And also, again, on the fact that I didn't turn anything in. I have packets here for everybody on the board. It will show you what I had to work with from Jim Westbrook, which was very little, and it has my spreadsheet. It has a copy of my email to Arlene.
Linda, thank you very much. We're going to stick to the topic of the minutes. So it seems like there's nothing really to change. So can I get a all in favor for the minutes?
Aye.
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 Okay, so we're going to move on to correspondence for the Brookridge Beautification Committee.
Brookridge Beautification Committee will host their luncheon, auction, and card party on Sunday, March 23rd. It's open to the public, and all attendees receive a pamphlet listing each sponsor by status that helps by a donation to this event. They appreciate any donation. Any business can contribute to the auction. We appreciate consideration in this matter as well as the presence of business in our community. It's signed by Carol Toby and Barbara Hardy.
I think they're just notifying us that it's happening. So thank you very much for the notification.
Okay, moving on. Reports, we don't have any at this time. Do we have any, are folks asking to speak if they submitted topics on?
I don't have any.
How can you accept the minutes that need to be corrected?
They will be corrected and then uploaded.
And when will we be notified? But you have to make your motion to accept the minutes as corrected, not just to accept it. You accepted the minutes with the correction, with the more information and without the additional. So the motion has to be changed, accept it as corrected. You can't accept something that's wrong.
We're gonna roll through this. So I move to accept the minutes from the Board of Directors meeting as corrected for December 3rd. Can I get a second?
Second.
Doesn't seem like there could be any discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
December 23rd, not December 3rd.
December 3rd.
23rd.
All three.
There was actually all three.
It was all three.
We're correcting all three. Hang with
We'll
me.
do one at a time.
Moving on to number 2. I move to accept the Board of Directors meeting minutes from December 18th as corrected.
I second.
Any discussion? No discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Moving along. I move to accept the Board of Directors meetings limited agenda minutes for December 23rd as corrected.
I second that.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. Moving back down to reports, we don't have any at this time. Moving down to unfinished business, gatehouse improvements. Jane, would you like to lead off and I'll chime in?
Well, I was thinking that Jim Petroselli was going to be here with update, but Dave Henry is going to take over. So,
Yeah, great. Baton toss, thank you.
So we'll just pass it.
Good job, Dave.
You say it stops here. Okay, so the gatehouse, I did meet with Jimmy yesterday and today. He is in communication with the company we are working with. I think he reported out at the last meeting that there are permits that we are waiting to have approved and signed off on. We are still waiting on that. However, there is some other work that can get done. And in the conversation with him, it seemed like we should see something on the property likely this week still yet to get started on the things they can get started on. Outside of that, that's not all the update I have.
Moving on
Very
to,
good. Nope, we have a discussion.
okay.
Mary Story, Unit 6. I have a question on the contract for the renovations. Is it so that the mold was created by the roof? There was leakage from the roof coming into the guardhouse, and that's why the mold built up?
I think, Richard, I don't know if you want to speak to that, but I believe it was a variety of topics, not.
But the roof was involved?
Was the roof involved?
Yes, that's what I'm
speak
asking.
I can't speak to that, whether the roof was involved or not.
I know there was damage to the roof. I don't know if the roof was the full contributor to it or not.
Well, my question being is that your contract is $59,550 with a little asterisk on the bottom that says if you want a shingle roof replaced, it would be an additional $6,700. Are we not replacing the roof?
No, we're not replacing the roof. So first of all, when you say roof, there's the roof buildup, and then there's the.
This is for the total tear off and replacement.
We're not replacing the shingles on the roof. We asked them to give us an alt price for it, but we didn't think the shingles needed to be replaced. And so we're moving forward without replacing the shingles at this time.
So if the roof was damaged, what is being done to correct the damage?
So the roof damage, I think, is very limited to where a truck hit it on the inbound side. And that was minimal, if anything. And from, the appearance of the roof, and we had them look at the roof, the shingles are still within, the approximate and reasonable date of a shingled roof. So we told them not to move forward on the shingles at this time.
Okay, so what you're basically saying is then the mold was not caused by a leakage coming from the roof?
I don't have any information to speak to that, Mary. What I can tell you is a lot of the moisture buildup was from single pane windows, no insulation in the building, the constant opening doors to come in and out of the building. You probably see it within your own home in the summertime when it's very hot and humid here. So those were a lot of the mitigating factors around the mold.
Okay, as long as the roof isn't leaking and the mold didn't come from there, because, it'd only be fair to let us know that it would then reach to over 66,000 and not 59. That's what I'm looking
Appreciate
for.
that. Any other
Thank you.
comments?
Sue Price. You'll have to wait for member comments, Linda.
The previous board member, when we did the inspection, that Richard didn't show up on, yes, the ceiling tiles were wet.
Go ahead, Sue.
Hi, Sue Price, Unit 6, I think. Well, I have two things now. First, I want to address whose bright idea was it to put all those silly signs lining up to go into our park. I had family come in over the holidays, and she looked at me and she goes, "Mom, really? Are you guys that old? I mean, if you're that old and you're going through a gate, maybe you don't need a driver's license, people. It's a sign that says stop with a gate that's lit.
You would think that would slow them down from running into the gate, right?
If they run into the gate, do they pay for the gate?
We do charge them for the gate.
Do they get their privileges taken away? Because then they wouldn't run into the gate because they'd have to go to the other side.
So noted, thank you very much. I hear you that
Okay.
it looks a bit aggressive, but they haven't run into the gate recently.
I think it's just totally trashy, and I don't think we really need that.
So noted, thank you very much.
Number two, almost $60,000 for a guard shack? Did anybody think, just maybe, how much it would cost to put like a prefab unit in there? Or did anybody get other estimates instead of just redoing it? Who was in charge of that one?
So I appreciate your concern. I feel like what you're saying is you're volunteering to help us the next time we have a construction project. Because it seems like you have knowledge, and that's good, I appreciate that.
60 grand
But yes,
for a little square building?
so it's the gift that seems to keep on giving here. But we were not in a position and didn't feel like it was in a position to do a complete tear down and rebuild.
Not tear it down, replace it with, they have those, matter of fact, you have one out there, a nice little unit that nobody's using really, anyway, that we're paying for.
Well, I appreciate your concern. We did think about it. And we've taken the motion and the steps that we've taken, and we're working on repairing this space.
Okay, I know you're waiting on permits, but dear Lord, how long does permits take? Long time? Okay, I'll give them that.
Thank you for your feedback. Appreciate it.
Okay, so the signs are gonna stay up.
We can certainly look at it, but it has deterred folks from running into those gates.
I doubt it, but okay.
Thank you.
Okay, I promised a young lady that I would say this before the meeting and I didn't. So I'm just gonna please ask that any side conversations, try to keep it to a dull roar. People can't hear and they really wanna hear what's going on. So be respectful that you have people around you that may have difficulties hearing, especially if there are other people talking. Thank you.
Okay, next topic is new computers. Jane, do you want to kick that off?
The computers, they did get installed. They were working great until we had a phone situation and then an internet situation. And now we have no QuickBooks. And they're unable at this time, even after spending 2 days with the QuickBook people, are unable to fix it at this point. Correct? So the computers, though, they work great.
So I can speak a little bit on that as well. So as a part of the new computers, we did put in a new firewall for added security. QuickBooks does not like firewalls. We all know we have a lot of problems with QuickBooks, and it only exacerbated the issue that we've lost and struggled getting connectivity through the firewall. Our technician has been here many days in a row trying to work with Quicken, and he's assured us that the firewall is doing just fine. Quicken seems to be the problem, and that seems to be a redundant theme here. And hopefully we don't have to deal with QuickBooks much longer. The other thing about the phones, for those of you that maybe understand our phone systems, we use what's called voice over IP phones. Sometimes they're called as VoIP phones, which means essentially it's voice over IP, meaning it's through data lines. That has been a real issue through the firewalls. And I talked to Thomas Fine today and asked about why can't we just get regular landlines that don't have to be VoIP and doesn't have to go through the firewalls. He assured me it can absolutely be done through Spectrum, and we're going to look to do so, because we've had a lot of issues with our voice over IP phones for a number of months now, and that was well before the firewall issue. And so we hope to address that here pretty quickly so we can get it corrected and no longer have to deal with the voice over IP phones. The new computers are working fine, but like I said, there's just a lot of connectivity issues dealing with some older infrastructure that we're trying to improve. The next thing that we're going to be looking at is trying to improve our servers as a part of the sort of necessary upgrades with our network, and we're dealing with that next. So you'll hear more about that in the coming meeting.
Val, was there anything that you wanted to state for the, okay, thank you.
Okay. Moving on, finance company. So the update on the finance company is perhaps a little bit more in depth than the last time the team was able to meet. At this point, we are narrowing down our choices to 2 finance companies that we are very interested in bringing to this group, the members. And so on Wednesday, February 12th, we're going to have a town hall meeting from 10 to 12, and we're going to bring in 2 of the finance companies. These are actually HOA firms that offer finance modules. we're going to bring them in to do presentations to the members at large. And so we're going to ask the two companies to come in. They'll each do a 20-minute presentation. We'll open it up for 30-minute Q&A per company. And then, that company can step aside. We'll bring the next company in, let them do presentations, let them do their presentation and do a follow-up Q&A. So once we get through that process, you might see a limited agenda meeting coming up shortly thereafter, so we can try to keep the momentum on this initiative moving forward. Because of many of the issues we're dealing with today, yesterday, and the day before that, and months before that with QuickBooks, we've got to find a better alternative. The other thing we're also doing is we're already working on creating a matrix of those tasks, roles, and responsibilities that we expect these finance companies at our choices to make sure that as we get into a contract negotiation process, that we try to ensure that we have all of our needs met. And so we're already starting to collect information. For example, Arlene is working with Vivian to make sure we clearly understand all of her roles and responsibilities, the things she does every day, the things she does once a week, twice a week, monthly, yearly. So we can just make sure that we understand all those activities that need to be addressed in this agreement. Secondly, we're also building onto that document all those things that we need, want, and prefer to get out of this relationship, so that when they come and do their presentation, hopefully they'll highlight all those key points. And then from there, we'll, as we decide which one we're going to kind of continue to move forward with and get into sort of a contract negotiation, we'll make sure that that information is given to them as a scope of work to ensure that what they're delivering as a service to Brookridge, our needs are being met and or enhanced and improved, thankfully, hopefully. And so that's kind of where we are today. We would love to see, phase one of the transition strategy occur in March. This will probably be a couple of months of transition. Brookridge is an interesting place, and there's a lot of interesting things we're still trying to uncover as you look at the potential audits for the last couple of years. We also need to make sure that we are not setting them up for failure as well. So there's a lot of discovery, and they have to take over what they're going to take over. So there's a good bit of work ahead of us to make sure we get this right. But those are the things we're working on next.
Is there a problem? Test Bud says there's no broadcast on YouTube.
I'm live.
Yes. Gail, did you have questions on the finance company, or were they? Okay, very good. And Linda Walls, questions on the finance company? Thank you.
Next up is the appointment of the treasurer. So we are going to have somebody on our board. Jane Randall is offering to wear two hats for us as the secretary and treasurer. Although I offered to do that as the president, I told her I was going to have to arm wrestle her to see who was going to do it, and she won the arm wrestle contest, and my arm's still sort of hurting a little bit. But we know that things are going to change as we bring in a new finance company, and the role of the treasurer, the role of the finance company, or the finance committee. We know those are going to change. How much, how little, don't know. But we know it's important that we have a identified treasurer. And so to that point, I move to appoint Jane as our treasurer and secretary. Can I get a second?
I second that motion.
Any discussion? Any folks that would like to speak?
No.
Okay. So all in favor?
Aye.
Congratulations.
Yay, Jane.
Okay, moving on to new business. Appointment of board members. So I might even just address the March discussion of elections and terms, because I think they go hand in hand. So why we're appointing board members this evening is because currently we have equal to or less applicants, interested parties to be on the board for the positions we have open. So we have 2 positions open on the board, and we have 2 applicants for the board. And so based on the Florida statutes, when that situation arises, it's not required for us to do an election. And so we won't be doing an election for the board members because they're going to be on the board. And it's not an inexpensive process. It's a worthy process, but in this case, I don't know that it's a necessary process. It also takes a lot of effort of the election committee. I've already talked to Hope Campbell and told her she's off the hook this year, that we won't be doing an election because we have 2 openings and we have 2 applicants. And so we're going to move them on to the board this evening. At the same time, we are in conversation with our attorney at Becker to make sure that as we put together our strategy for identifying terms, because typically that's a byproduct of the election, that we are compliant with our strategy. And so you'll hear more information about that coming soon. But because we won't be doing an election and we still have to work on the terms, we felt it was in our favor at this point in time to bring the new board members on. They've got a lot of things going on. We could use their assistance. And so short of saying, let's just wait until March, it seems silly for us to have to take on all the duties that we're taking on. And we look forward to bringing you on board. So that said, I move to appoint 2 new board members this evening. And that'll be Val Stratton and Jerry Foster. Can I get a second?
I second that.
And discussion?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, Mary?
I would ask too that people out in the audience don't go shouting when we're conducting business up here, or else we'll have to ask you to leave. Thank you.
Mary Story, Unit 6. The 2 board members that you are putting onto the board tonight, what is their term going to be?
For now, they'll be on the board until we come up with our terms as part of our discussion with Steve Betzer. So they'll be on the board at least, I'm going to say at least a year, but those are to be further defined.
Okay, well, our bylaws, Article 5, Section 9 says any vacancy occurring on the board following acceptance of a signed resignation from the resigning director may be filled by a majority vote of the board of directors until the next election of directors.
Mhm.
So therefore, they should only be on until this March, because we have an annual meeting and that's when the election would take place. The same as the 3 of you were appointed for filling in, and you should actually be coming off the board as of March. I have an email from Steve Metzer. I was chairperson of the nominating committee prior to my resigning from that. Steve was contacted via Arlene, and I have an email where he actually spells out what should have transpired this year. And it basically goes down that it should have been 2 put in because we have 2 terms expiring, Millie and Leo. 2 should have been put in for 3 years, 1 for 2 years to fill out the remaining of Linda's term, and 2 at 1 year because Debbie and Jim only had 1 year left. The staggering was set up as an initial thing, and it's there to cover us so that boards will not be doing it. If you come off next year, the 5 years come off and you're only taking 1 year, you're gonna be back in the same position you're in now with 2 remaining board members. Okay, those, you do not have a quorum with 2 board members, nor is it a legal board. Our bylaws read that you have to have a minimum of 3 board members, no more than 9. So basically, You're not following our bylaws, our governing documents, and Steve outlined this back in November. Arlene, you can attest to we received that email from Steve?
Yes, we have it.
Mm-hmm.
We have it, and I've discussed it with Steve Metzer as recent as last night. So I appreciate your concerns.
Well, I
I
would-
talked to you, as I mentioned, as I told to all the other members, we are working on trying to define the terms. But in the meantime, based on chapter 720 of our Florida statute, section 7306, it's not required unless we have more candidates than open positions.
It's
So at
not
this point in
required
time,
you to have an election, but you have to have an election to follow the staggering that was initiated originally.
An election is not required to figure that out, but thank you for your comments.
Well, when are we going to know what the outcome is? Because how are you going to determine? It's normally determined by the highest number of votes.
Thank you, I understand. And I'll say it again, we're working with Steve, so.
Please don't dismiss me.
I'm not dismissing it. Okay, so, any other discussion, anybody else would like to speak? Okay. I sort of combine them together. If you want to talk about the elections, I was just trying to describe why we're doing the election, why we're bringing those two folks on the board right now. So if you want to talk about the March elections at a later time in the agenda, I'd like to do that so we can bring our members on. So can I get an all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So we'd like to invite Val Stratton and Jerry Foster up to join us up here. And for now, both of these folks will hold director positions. So welcome, folks. Maybe an arm wrestle to see who's actually going to the table. Any other folks that?
No.
Okay. Moving on to creation and activation of governing document committee. Ms. Lane?
Yes.
I'm calling for a point of order. Do the new directors not have to be sworn in?
No, it's not a requirement.
And when?
Since when? You'll have to show me where it says we have to do it, but based on talking to our attorney, it's not a requirement. It's only a brokerage thing. So in order to move this meeting along, we're going to keep it right online.
Okay, so the advisory.
Activation,
From where there?
the first one, governing document.
Okay. Okay. So the topic is a proposal to create and activate a governing documents committee. The reasoning behind that, first of all, I need to be able to make sure that I speak to the 3 committees that people were putting in applications to the office for. Those we have received, fine, we have received. So what happened was, in order to be able to streamline the communication of these 3 committees, considering the fact of the severity and the urgency of with the 720s in place and the necessity to change these, or at least update them to the point where they are with the 720s, the 3 committees that were going to be in place have now been combined into one, which is the governing documents, and they will cover all of those. They'll cover SOPs, bylaws, and the rules and regs. And they have met. I know that they have met, and they have come up with a chair for their committee. And so this is, I'm proposing a motion to create and activate this governing documents committee to replace the past rules and regs committee and the bylaws committee. There's never been an SOP committee. And the chair of that committee has been appointed to be Jerry Kraft. I don't see her in here, but she's been asked by, there she is, way back there. So that's the motion. The proposed motion is to approve the creation of and activate the governing documents committee to replace the rules and regs committee and the bylaws committee with Jerry Kraft as the chair. Do I get a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes. Yes, will we be also voting on the two people that are gonna serve at the pleasure of the board? Usually there's two committee members that also serve.
We've discussed the fact that there'll be a liaison between, but no, we haven't discussed that yet.
We don't have two people yet?
No.
Okay. And this is I mentioned to you, it's not a standing committee, it's a special committee they have a task to do. So it's not a forever
I believe she said rules and rights and bylaws.
And SOPs as well.
And SOPs.
Correct.
It takes care of all three dimensions of what we need to take care of to keep all of our things up to date.
So are we making this a standing committee, which would go forever?
Into perpetuity.
Okay,
I'm fine with that,
Yeah, that's the clarification.
until things change.
so if we could add that to the motion maybe, that this will be a standing committee?
Okay, so we'll add that to the motion. To approve the creation and activation of governing documents committee
As a standing committee.
as a standing committee to
Second.
replace the past rules and regs committee and the bylaws committee and to add the SOPs in there with Jerry Kraft as the committee chair.
I'd second that if we want to do
Okay,
that.
any more discussion? There's no paper.
Save it for member comments.
You'll have to save that for member comments, Linda.
Are you gonna include the amendments?
So, all those in favor?
I have,
Okay, good. Okay, so you want to come up and speak to this? Perfect. Yeah, this is good.
Standard operating procedures.
Yes.
CAP Unit 6. Catherine and I talked before, so most of that is there. My question is, the governing documents also contain the deed restrictions. The governing documents, the SOPs are not part of the governing documents, so will the deed restrictions also be in there because they could be affected also? Just a question.
Good point, thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Welcome aboard, Jerry. Can you stand up? Good luck. Okay. Next on the agenda is to create and implement an advisory committee. This committee will gather people from the outside of the community with different employment backgrounds to help analyze problems, review facts, gather information and alternatives to assist Brookridge. Their conclusions and recommendations are reported to the board. My recommendation is to create and implement this advisory board. And my motion is to create and implement the advisory board. Do I have a second?
So I was just going to say, I read about this in our governing docs. I thought this was a committee that I believe would bring value to our organization and our community. So we've got some work to do to find some folks that would like to be on this committee as an advisor to Brookridge. And what that means is we'll be looking for those that are in, sort of the professional were outside of here that we can bring on. I can bring on good insights, different ways of thinking, and we think there's a great value to this. So I think you said you had something.
Question? Question on Mary?
Pardon me?
Question from the board. Is this going to, are we gonna have to pay these advisors? Because
No.
I know it'd be volunteer inside.
No.
Not time and travel?
No?
No.
Okay.
I'm still trying to figure out how to get paid myself, so no, they don't get paid anywhere else.
Mary Story, Unit 6. Why are we not seeing if we have residents in here with the type of background? You're using Jim for the gatehouse, so why wouldn't we put it out there with the backgrounds you're looking for to our residents? Why are we going to the outside?
Because I think if you read the governing documents, it talks about the advisory committee being professional folks outside of our community. Now, that said,
Where in our governing
that said,
documents?
excuse me, I think we would certainly be open to those folks that might be of interest, that might be interested in being on this advisory committee. But our primary intent was to try to help expand this out into the community outside of Brookridge. So I'm not trying to discriminate to say those can't be on there. In fact, I know there's a gentleman in this room this evening that said he'd be willing to be on this committee. And there's probably a few more.
How much information about our community are these going to have, these outsiders going to have access to?
That's a great question. I certainly don't intend to share how much we pay our staff. We may share little, if any, of our financials. This is really about them coming to the table and having them help us look at our community from a variety of different perspectives, through a different lens, if you will. So I think that's our direction.
Do you not think that there might be an idea to table this and bring us some more information so we can know as residents what you're actually doing and putting forth for us? This does involve us also. And it's sort of vague what you're telling us tonight. You're bringing in outsiders. Are they gonna have background checks? Are you checking into anything on them that we know?
You know, if you look at our governing documents, none of that is articulated in there, but I hear your concerns, but we're not going to table it. We're going to move forward on the motion this evening.
Can you let me know where in our governing documents it says that, please?
I'm not going to point it out tonight, but I can certainly have somebody give you that information tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have Linda Walls. Did you want to speak to the advisory committee?
Yeah, everything's already.
Okay. And the last question? Okay. Statutory, or are they gonna work on this? I mean.
I don't think I would make it a standing committee until we get it off the ground and see how things unfold.
Okay, got it. So ad hoc so far.
Ad hoc so far. Good question, thank you.
Okay, all set? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, next up on the agenda is changing verbiage from resume to application, and I think this is under Roberta, but Jane, were you talking about this?
No, we're
Okay, go ahead, Roberta.
So it's been in the past that we have a form that says volunteers resume for different committees. And we feel that a resume is not really required for that committee. But what we want to do is say that for the board of directors, we do want to have a form that says that the applications for the board of directors is going to be a resume. So we're probably going to relook at the forms just to kind of retype them so that they make more sense.
because we have a lot of people that I think are confused because we keep on saying, well, you have to hand in your resume for this committee, but you don't. So from today on, your application is just an application and you don't have to hand in a resume. You just fill out the application form for committees. Do you have any questions? So I'm making a promotion that the forms now will be an application for committees is a volunteer, and it's only for an application, not for, with a resume. And that for the board of directors, we're going to have it so that they do hand in a resume. All in favor?
Second.
Second.
Any
Discussion? No, yes.
Okay, we're good.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Good.
Okay, I've already sort of approached this March membership meeting topic of elections and terms. Did you have anything you wanted to comment on that, Gail? I think you're.
Yep, I got it.
Gail Metcalf, Unit 6. The March membership meeting, when we do, and I understand we don't have to have elections, so you don't have to have that, and that's about a $3,500 savings. Well, it was $3,500 2 years ago, it's probably more than that now. The only thing is that there has to be a annual membership meeting notice with an agenda in that, so that will still go out. Okay.
Yes, we expect that to continue as it has. Okay. So to report of directors. Roberta, would you like to start? Let's see, Jerry. I know we're catching you, off guard, but what an opportunity.
Well, I will say a few words here. I'm glad to be here. I support this board. I believe in, as I talked to a few of them, I believe they're trying to do the right thing, not trying to play favoritism on anything. I believe they got their heads on straight, and I look forward to working with them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Roberta, you're next.
Yes, I'm the liaison to the ACC committee, and we are currently working on solar panel installation guidelines. There's not anything in place right now, so there seems to be a little bit of discussion, so we're having a dialogue between the board and the ACC committee to see what the guidelines will be for placement for solar panels that are attached to the home. The ACC has no interest in solar panels that are temporary, that people put on their bikes or their golf carts. They're only concerned with the solar panels that go on the building. Any discussion on that?
No, that's in the comments.
Okay.
Okay. Hi, I am the liaison on the RV committee. We are not having, they're not having their regular meeting this month. They're having their annual meeting. It's the 22nd. So I will have more to update them. And the other committees that I am the liaison to, election, nominating, and social, they aren't doing too much right now. So they said, wait until next month. So that's my whole report, guys.
Last, so Jane, you're up.
I met with the beautification committee on their liaison, And their big project coming up is the Expo, which is on January 29th at 10 a.m. They also, all the committees are looking for any volunteers that want to volunteer. Now that we've made the process easier than a resume, it's just an application, put your name in, your phone number, very little information, and please volunteer. That would be great. Also, I met with the unit reps. There was sickness going through the unit reps, but she too mentioned about the expo, that's what they're kind of all gearing up on, is for the expo.
Thank you. Richard?
Okay, January 6th, I met with Chris Schiff of Brennan Bank, and I renewed 3 CDs that we have with them. That was all taken care of. Also, liaison to the Community Development Committee, which Dave Henry has sat in on, and that we're working in having a master plan redone for our gated community here, and we're trying to see how much money we're actually going to get from the contractors that are putting in the new development next door, and whatever money we get, hopefully it'll be a good amount, we want to put that into putting a back gate in off of Adolph, going to Grove Road, so that it will alleviate a lot of the traffic we have going in and going out. Our plans at this point in time is that the gate would be an unmanned gate only for residents, and it would be operational from 7 in the morning to 7 at night. Then the bigger gate would be slid across and locked, and would be over. We'd have a camera there that would be monitored from the gatehouse up front in case there were any problems. Then they could send a code enforcement truck back there. Dave might have some other particulars he might want to mention about that. Also, Val?
Hello, thank you. Looking forward to working with this team. It seems to work well together, and I'm sure they'll assign me some kind of juicy project in the near future. Looking forward to it and serving you folks. Thank you.
Yes, thank you to the board members. You may regret it, but our to-do list for you guys are building quickly, so thank you very much for that. Just concluding on reported directors, I just want to say a word of thanks to our members. Last month I had an opportunity to go down to, my wife and I had a chance to go down to Mexico and visit our son-in-law and daughter and grandkids, 3 years old and 6 years old. They wore us out. But thank you for being so helpful to Catherine and everybody else. That said, my other daughter in San Francisco said, so what about me? And so we're going to fly out to San Francisco tomorrow to spend some time with her and our other son-in-law and our newest addition to our family. We've got a 7-month-old grandson, and so we're going to spend a few days with him. And then my wife and I are going to jump on a slow boat out of San Francisco back to Fort Lauderdale. It's called a cruise ship. And so in my absence, Catherine will be in charge as our first vice president, supported by the rest of the board. So they all have my travel dates and schedules and when I can be available. We'll be checking in and communicating and making sure that everything runs as smoothly as possible. So thank you for your support. With that, I think we'll open it up to member comments.
Just don't bombard me, okay, guys?
Thank you. Okay, member comments. We have Patty Cummings.
Is this thing on? Yes, it is. I want to bring it to your attention. Name and unit. Patty Cummings, Unit 4. The Brookridge Dance Committee and the ladies of Brookridge took a check to the board. The BCPO gave it to Arlene on December 19th, the day after our last meeting,
when we were approved to purchase the chairs. Chairs, we didn't purchase 300 chairs, we gave them money for 330 chairs. The chairs were ordered January 9th, not when they told me they were going to order them. And because of that, the price of the chairs went up. My estimate that I negotiated was only good until the end of the year. So the BCPO had to take $400 of all of you guys' money for absolutely no reason other than they didn't want to order the chairs when they said they would, and it cost $400 more. They put the money in.
So Patty, thank you for sharing your concerns. I believe we've had quite a bit of conversation with you and Dick Stratton and others, that we did absolutely drop the ball on that. And I believe we sent you an apology email stating that we dropped the ball, and it was unfortunate. It was not intentional. We had no interest in being the bad guy in this. And we're making everything happen to get those chairs here. So we're sorry that unfolded the way it did. There was no malice or ill intent. We just dropped the ball, and hopefully the chairs will be here pretty quickly. So thank you for bringing your concerns to us.
Steve?
Steve Snutko, Unit 2. Just a couple of quick updates from the Brookridge Community Development Committee. In case those of you have noticed some activity going on in the development at course, the Alliance of the Grove. We were informed by our liaison that beginning next week, they're going to begin paving and preparing paving for the entrance off of Route 50 to access the Olive Garden that is still scheduled to open sometime in March, is what we're being told. In addition to that, with Lacoochee River Electric Company, we'll begin removing streetlights on the medians outside of our gate going towards 50, because that's going to allow them to start doing some of the, I'm assuming, rewiring and other things that they'll be doing to the medians out there to accommodate the, the development going forward. Lastly, though, as you probably have noticed, and I know I have, they keep moving dirt and other things. There's a mound. One day there's a mound, the next day it's gone. They're going to continue doing that, removing soil, moving it around, etc., to accommodate them installing the necessary underground utilities for the entire development. Lastly, we've been involved, as you know, in the pursuing heading the second gate, as Richard pointed out. I've spoken with a gentleman, an engineer with Coastal Engineering of Brooksville, and currently we have an appointment scheduled for February 10th. A couple members of the committee and David as well, to meet with them, to discuss with them how best to move forward. This is something that is definitely in their wheelhouse. They're very familiar because they did work actually on the development that's going in there. And so we approached them to ask them to help guide us, as it were, in our dealings with the county and how to best facilitate us getting the necessary approvals, etc., for that second gate. So after that meeting, we'll be updating everybody, but like I said, that won't be until next month. Thank you.
Question, I'm sorry, Steve, you said February 10th. February 10th is already passed. Did you mean March 10th? January 10th, that passed too.
No.
Next January 15th. February's not here yet.
I've always said February.
Okay, never mind.
That's all right.
She was just testing us to make sure we were talking about it.
Esther White, Unit 4. I really hope they're gonna put a traffic light when they put that Olive Garden in, because it's gonna be a disaster trying to come in that gate. But anyway, when the gatehouse is being fixed, is there gonna be somebody there to watch these workers? To supervise the workers when the gatehouse is going to be fixed?
I'm sorry, say that one more time, I'm sorry.
When the gatehouse is going to be fixed, is there going to be somebody there to watch the workers and supervise them on what they should be doing? Because you guys paid a lot of money to have the electrical fixed. And when we went in there to work, 3 of the electrical boxes that are brand spanking new are laying on the floor outside of the gatehouse.
So, the contractor is responsible for managing the staff on site. Jimmy, our resident, who's been assisting us on this project, will be, helping us sort of watch what they're doing to ensure that everything's safe and they're doing what they're responsible for doing. So it feels like I want to say yes, somebody's going to be there to make sure they're doing what they're supposed to do.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know. That's it, thank you.
Thank you.
If there's a problem, you can always call one of us board members and let us know that somebody should be up there, and we will respond, okay? So please. Thank you.
Gino Verdi, resident in 2.
Can you move the microphone just a little closer to your mouth so we can hear you?
What's the procedure of letting somebody come into this community? What is the procedure? Who does that?
So, Peter, I don't know if you want to respond on this topic? Are you talking about to visit?
Why do we have people that have been in jail being put into a community that we're trying to keep safe?
So
I don't understand
sorry,
that.
Peter, I don't think you have to answer this one. So you're talking about residents that live here that.
Why, when we come in, like when I came 5 years ago, they had a background check, okay? Now, I see where they're supposed to have background checks, but yet people that are convicts are being let in. Why? Why are we subject to people that have been in prison?
Who are you referring to, sir? Who is in here?
I want to know who okays them to come so they can live here.
We don't okay any felons to be in here.
Can I step in on this? Okay, so what's happening, Gino, is we don't let people in here that have a bad background. If they're criminals, if they have a criminal background, they do not come and live in here. These people that you're describing are people that are brought in here by people who live here already, okay, under the covers where we don't know they're here. There's a lot of people that live in this community right now that we do not know that live here, okay, that are convicted felons. And there's no way, unless we go knocking on every damn door in this community, there's no way of us knowing who lives here and is a convicted felon, unless somebody in this community knows somebody next door or is aware of it, and then they come and report it. You're talking about a neighbor, okay? You're talking about people.
I'm talking
You have
about
a neighbor.
everybody. I'm not talking about these
about
people here. Some of them have people that don't belong here that have a record. And when they came in, they were supposed to have a background check.
Again, Gino.
And they didn't.
There are people living in here that we are unaware of that have not had background checks because we don't know they're living here. You understand what I'm saying? Unless someone makes a complaint and says, hey, I got a neighbor here that's been living here next door, and I don't think he's had a background check because he's been hiding in the house, or, okay, now you tell us about it. We have a complaint, a formal complaint. We go and we check on this. We send them a violation. Now it's up to them to come in and dispute that with us. Chances are 90% of the times we find out that that person living in that house is not a registered person. Now we make them have to go and do a background check. We can't spot every single person in this community. There's over 3,000 homes here.
I'm not talking about that.
You're talking about people that are living here that are convicted felons. We
Well-
don't, no, do you know who they are?
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about people that come in here. Hold on a second. People that come in here, they get a background check. Why do they have a felony behind them and they get in here?
They don't.
Oh, yes, they do. Don't tell me that.
Okay.
It sounds like you may have some specific information that we want to talk offline with you to learn more.
Yes.
But based on what we are processing, background checks are reviewed, and anybody with a felony background is not allowed in. So if you have some different information, maybe we can take this offline and learn more about what you're sort of suggesting.
I'm not only concerned about myself, I'm concerned about everybody.
We appreciate it.
Okay, the way things are going today, it's a shame that we have to worry about who's next door, and when they come in, there's no background check.
We heard you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Can I just request, if you get up to the stand and go to sit back down, don't slam the mic down. It's a very sensitive piece of equipment, and some of them you hear, and that's because they get slammed down. So please gently place the thing back down on the stand. Thank you.
Mary Story, Unit 6. The questions I'm about to ask are directly going to Catherine, and I would prefer that she answer these questions. So at the December 18th meeting, Catherine, you announced that you had gone to Regent's Bank. You closed out the accounts there, one of which ended in 2033, one ended in 2144. They totaled $224,286.32. You then took those funds and you brought them to Brennan Bank. Am I correct so far?
I'm listening.
Well, I'm asking if I'm correct in what I've stated so far.
Well, you just gave me this piece of paper. I don't respond to things I don't have a chance to take a look at.
There's nothing on there you have to look at, Jen. I'm asking you if what I
went
just.
to Regions Bank several weeks ago. I'm not 100% sure of what you're talking about. You've got a.
So you went to
down
Regent's
here.
Bank and you closed out 2 bank accounts there. And you took those funds and you deposited them into Brennan Bank. Is that correct?
I was directed to go to Regions Bank to close out an account. Yes, 2. And yes, I took that check to a different bank, yes.
You took it to Brennan.
Okay.
When you went to Brennan, did you happen to open a new account or did you deposit it in an existing account?
It was deposited into an account and I gave the paperwork to Arlene.
So what you actually did was you closed out, if you look at the balance sheet, which is in the packet there, you will see under checking and savings, there are 2 Regents accounts. They are the 2 that you closed out. They have a -12 after them, a 12.
Okay.
You placed them into the Brennan Bank, which I confirmed this with Arlene, which was 9203, which is -00. You took reserve funds and transferred them into a general operating account. That is called reserve, Richard, I'm speaking, that is called reserve transferring. There is a
Correct, it's incorrect.
That is not
It went
incorrect.
to reserve, it went to a reserve account at Brennan Bank. Went into
There
a
is no reserve accounts at Brennan
Yes,
Bank.
there is.
When was it opened? This account that I was given the paperwork and I have confirmation from my Arlene is account number 9203. That is a general operating account. So you've taken our reserve funds and put them into general operating. And I have the proof that Arlene sent me of all the account numbers. And this action was done prior to the board voting on it, which goes against our bylaws.
I'll have to double check with Chris Schiff because I don't have the proper paperwork.
I can show you the email from Arlene that says it was put into that account and that's why it's highlighted. And that transferring of that money has to follow a certain protocol. You have to give notice to us, you have to explain why you transferred it, and you have to restore it within 1 year. So I'm going to ask you, how are we going to handle this situation, and when are we going to let our residents know that that money has been put back in an account that is reserves?
My answer to you, Mary, is that I'm gonna go over the paperwork that you gave me. I'll get clarification for you, and I will make sure that you get that.
Would appreciate that, Catherine, thank you.
You're welcome.
Gail Metcalf, Unit 6. I just have two things. First of all, coming into the community, when you're coming from like the Veterans Highway and you're taking the right into the community, there's a tree on that property and there's some bushes. If you could ask the town to take those down, because we should always have a clear view of our sign. That's something that happened like years ago, and I found out if you could just call, just to make sure that our sign is always seen, but there's a couple of trees up there that are starting to get high again. On another note, I just want to address the general population. As some of you know, there's a bucket in the, down there by the office, and there's a bucket at the administration office. I'm with an association outside of this community that we collect plastic bags and we fold them, we cut them, and we crochet them into mats for the homeless. Worcester County, my old county, Hernando County has a very large population of homeless people, and they are not degenerates. A lot of these people have been forced out of their homes because of rents and things like that, loss of jobs. And I just want to thank all of the people that have given us these bags, and it's not all the junk stuff. It is just like the Walmart bags, the Publix bags, the Bell's bags. And I appreciate you keeping doing that, because we've been doing this for 2 years. We've probably done about 10 or 12 mats. It takes over $1,100 bags to make a mat. So I spend a couple of hours every day folding and cutting, and also looking for some people to help that would be willing to help. I know Robin and a couple of other people have stepped up to the plate, but I appreciate everybody who puts the bags in, but please don't give me the junk, okay? It's just the bags themselves. And thank you for supporting this worthy cause.
Thank you, Gail.
Linda Walls, Unit 6. Something that's been discussed in the past. I don't know if the board has acted on it yet. I was hoping maybe the surveys for the HUD 80/20 would have been in with our statements.
Hello, I can answer that. We don't have to do that anymore. As of 2021, Carol Webster, our previous general manager, had sent the report over to the person at the state, I believe. She got an email back saying, Mrs. Webster, thank you for this report, but you don't need to do it anymore. If you do need to see a copy, if anybody needs to see a copy of that email, we do still have it.
I'd appreciate seeing that.
Of course.
Also, I'm tired of the board and the residents dragging my name through the mud over the financial reports. I've given them everything they needed. I gave it to them again tonight. If anybody wants any reports, you can go to the office and request them. Since 2019, I have requested reports every month. And Arlene can verify that. I've paid a lot of money for these reports. I was left a mess. It took me 3 months and I still didn't track all the money that Jim had moved. He moved it so much. So there may be money that's floating out there, but if you go back and ask for a balance sheet from when Jim started to when Jim passed away, you will see the accounts that he had closed out and see if you can figure out where all that money went to. You can also request a copy of the balance sheet for the years 23 and 22 that the auditor sent, the CPA. And it will show you all the accounts at the end of the year that had zero balances that were closed by Jim.
Okay, I have several comments and questions that are coming up on the YouTube. So, start with that. One is from Paul Campbell, saying that they put in applications to be on the SOP committee, and they were never contacted to be a member of this new committee. Arlene, do you know?
I did,
Yeah.
Last week, when you ladies were in the office, I did give copies of Paul and Hope Campbell's resumes, applications to Mr. Berta. So she
Okay.
does have them.
Roberta, you have them? Okay. Antoinette Poskett, why have a second gate open only from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. and not 24/7?
I think that's a little too early for us to get into the nitty gritty. It's something we haven't gotten that far down the path, so appreciate the comment. We'll keep it in mind.
Tim McMahon, 2 residents should not be allowed to hijack the BOD meetings. Here we go once again with these 2. This has got to end. This is the 3rd board they have done this to. Unit 6, Tim McMahon. James Bennett agrees this is a tactic they use. Nana Banana says, new blood is good for the community. Thank you, Dave. I don't know who that is, though.
Mary?
Mary Star Unit 6, I'm going to say that I don't think remarks as that we just passed should be read to the public.
If they were here, they would make their comments, so it's on YouTube.
Then I could face them one-to-one, but they're hiding right now behind a computer screen, so I don't think that's fair to the people that are here and speaking. But anyway,
Fair to them not to be able to raise their voice.
On December 18th, Catherine, you said, and it's listed in the minutes, that morning you received the final audit. You have stated in the minutes after the board meeting, that after the board looks at it and discusses it, it would go onto the website and copies would be available at the admin office. Understanding right now that the only thing being given out at the admin office and the website is a draft copy. Why?
I believe that I said that we have the draft copy and that Richard and David were working diligently with that. And as soon as there was a final copy, that would be up on the website for all to see. I've gone back through the board meeting. I've gone back through the minutes. Thank you, Mary.
The minutes are right on page 3 of that meeting. Lane says that she knows that everyone has concerns about the audit and that they just received the final copy back this morning. By Florida statute, if you do have the final copy in your possession, and that is Florida statute 720-303, section 7, it needs to be presented to the residents within 21 days after you get it back from the third-party auditors.
Okay, well, I can speak to the fact that there is no final copy at this point. I do believe that I said draft. If I entered into and said final, then that was definitely my bad thing, and I apologize for that. I do know that David and Richard have been working diligently on the draft. I know the draft is now up on the website, I believe, and for all to see. And when you take a look at that, I'm sure you'll have a better understanding as to why the final draft isn't completed. But when it is, it will be up on the website as well. So again, if I made the mistake of stating draft, what I meant was when they got the final copy, it would be up on the website.
Well, you're exactly
So I
right.
apologize.
You received the final copy, but my question is, the draft was brought into the development back in October. Linda stated that just before she resigned. The draft was back then. So why has it taken it 3 months to get it back to the auditors to be finalized?
It's a great question. I think it's interesting, unfortunately, that we're talking about an audit from 2022 when none of those board was here, an audit from 2023. So there's a lot to unravel. Did we receive it back then? Yes. Have we been talking to our CPA and an auditor and having conversation about that document? Yes. Did we agree to put it up because we felt it was time to put it up and not wait any longer so folks can at least see what the draft looks like? Yes. I made the decision to put that audit draft up on Monday so that folks can at least see what we're looking at until we can get the final one done. As I mentioned earlier, we're excited to have Jerry on board and Val on board to help us with a lot of tasks, and that'll be one of those things. So I'm sorry it didn't happen faster for you, Mary, but we are working through it.
It's not a question of having it for me, it's a question of having it for the residents. There's a lot of residents that want to see that audit. There's a lot of
You're really
residents
worried
that want to
about
know.
where we are today, but if we had the same level of concern back in 2022, we wouldn't be sitting here with 2 years worth of audits. And we're looking at an audit for 2023 that we just got back in October.
Right.
So it feels like you want to sort of mince words with, we're dealing with documents that have been well overdue, and now you want to
But
try to
those
understand why we're
documents-
sitting on these things for a couple months. That's why we're sitting on them for a couple months.
Those
And when we're finished
documents-
with them, they'll be uploaded.
But those
And
documents,
to all the residents, I'm sorry it's taken so long. But these audits are not something that are just easy to sort of unravel. And if anybody would like to volunteer in the community that would like to volunteer to help us, raise your hands. Come on up. We're happy to take volunteers. So thank you,
generally
Mary.
the draft only gets sent back for you to check all the cover work, that it's the right address and everything else. It's not for the board to go over the figures.
Thank you.
So I'm wondering why it is taking that long. And I gotta say, you are a bit condescending to people.
Thank you.
Terry Johnson, Unit 1. Has there been any changes in the code enforcement schedule?
We are reviewing those schedules at this point. We are anticipating, and I think we mentioned this at a previous board meeting, that we're trying to look at all of those shifts because of the sort of budget bust, if you will. And right now we are talking about eliminating the third shift for drivers. That has not gone into effect yet, but it's going to go into effect here very soon. Unfortunately, we're dealing with a budget that didn't pass. Expenses continue to increase. And so, we've had a lot of comments from residents saying, why are they driving around all night long? I mean, people are building fences at 2 o'clock in the morning. And we're not taking it lightly. We appreciate the folks that are working here, but we are looking at eliminating the third shift for drivers.
And that would be eliminating a 5 to 5,
Pardon me?
eliminating him from 5 to 5.
So the third shift starts at 10:30 and goes until 6:30 in the morning. So 10:30 PM until 6:30 AM is when we're eliminating the code enforcement folks from driving around.
During that time, will be no speed limits?
Pardon me?
During that time, there'll be no speed limits?
We'd like to think people can, be appropriate residents, but we're not going to be out there monitoring because we just don't have the funds to afford that. I'm sorry.
What about the forensic audit?
Well, so with the forensic audit, we have talked to a forensic auditor. We are actively engaging that individual to work with us. And one of the first tasks we're going to put that person on is trying to help us find that missing bank account.
Is there a time limit on that?
No, not at this time.
The other thing is, when Richard said he would remove us from the meeting, we were talking, I didn't appreciate that very much.
I hear you.
Tracy Dwyer, Unit 3.
Can you raise the microphone just a little closer? Thank you.
Tracy Dwyer, Unit 3.
Thank you, Tracy.
If you're talking about eliminating the drivers overnight,
Third shift, yes, ma'am.
that leaves one person in there. Who's covering their breaks and lunches? If there's one person in the gatehouse from 10:30 at night till 6:30 in the morning, that's an 8-hour shift. They are able, by law, to get 2 15-minute breaks and at least a 30-minute lunch. If they are in there by themselves, they're eliminating the driver at nighttime. That's what he's saying.
We're eliminating the driving shift from 10:30 to 6:30 a.m. And
So
we are
they're-
looking at the rest of the schedules to make sure we have appropriate coverage. I mean, I appreciate your concern you're surfacing, but I don't think we have that revised final schedule yet.
So if you're deleting,
So will you move someone from one shift to the third shift before we pay? Will we allocate?
We're looking at all the shifts right at the moment.
correct, I already know because there's rumors going all out there. And I work at the gatehouse and I sat there and I've heard about firings that were supposed to happen. But because 2 of my friends that I work with are in the hospital, you have let that now stop.
Well, first of all, we're
And
not going to fire anybody, so be careful how you listen to the rumors. You're
But
certainly
these
welcome
are,
to
but
call
I'm
at
an
any point
employee
in
that's
time.
sitting there telling you what is being said.
Well, I'm sorry that somebody, not us, is using the word firing. What we specifically talked about in documentation and emails is that we're going to unfortunately have to lay folks off due to lack of work. And that's the only way we can get our budget in line,
How is there lack of work?
because we're eliminating shift. There's lack of work because we don't have that shift anymore. Any other member
I've been
comments?
here for 27 years, and my family has been part of this community for 45. And it literally took me 22 years to come back to work for the community because of the non-compassion.
I hear you. Any other member comments?
Yes. Correct.
Check. Ken Walls, Unit 4. How many people we got working on the overnight shift now at the guardhouse?
Peter, do you want to answer that question?
How about one of you board directors?
I'm deferring to Peter, so one moment, please.
What was the question?
Can you repeat your question, please?
How many people do we have working on the overnight shift at the guardhouse? At the gatehouse?
2.
I think the answer is 2.
We have 2. We have 1 gate attendant and 1 driver.
Okay, and you're gonna lay the driver off, there'll be no driver,
Correct.
right?
Right, there
So
will
there'll
be somebody in.
one person, like this other lady said, there'll be one person there. And they're entitled to a 30-minute lunch hour and 2 15-minute breaks. That's 1 hour. Who's gonna cover?
We answered that.
I'm asking the board. Being
Again,
they're the
I'll
one that's
defer to
involved with cutting these hours. Are y'all gonna get up and go out there and do it?
I can't answer that because when there's 2 people out there, that's how they work that out. When the driver's out doing his rounds, when he comes back, he relieves the gate attendant that's in there so they can take their breaks and vice versa, so.
I understand what you're saying, Pete.
I can't answer how it's gonna work.
Who's gonna who's gonna be attending that gate when this person has to eat lunch and take 2 15-minute breaks?
I don't have an answer for that, Ken.
Does anybody up here sit down facing the residents?
No, as I told you, we're looking at those schedules now, so
I'll rest my case.
thank you. Any other comments?
Hello? Sue Price, Unit 6.
Can you just move the microphone just a little closer to you? Thank
Sue
you.
Price, Unit 6.
Thank you.
All right. I'm usually not one to talk. I'm usually just like, listen, but when are you guys gonna do this, canceling the third shift person? Wouldn't it make more sense to cancel a daytime person when you have all your people in the office and more people around? Safety. I mean, you're moving it up to one person to take care of this whole community in the middle of the night. That's sort of like a little crazy. What happens if there's an emergency or something happens or God forbid something happens to that person in the gatehouse? There is nobody even in the office to help. It doesn't make sense why you would take take the afternoon, take the night person. And
So
is it really that cost effective?
We are
Find
looking at all shifts, because that's our.
No, I get you. All right, you keep interrupting everybody, so let me interrupt you for a second here.
Sure, go ahead.
You are very condescending for one, but not to me. It ain't gonna cut. Sorry. But you keep saying you're looking at everything. Who's gonna make this decision? And when are they gonna make this decision? And all of you are all talking third shift. Not one of you said first shift, not one of you said second. Every single one of you said third shift. Every one of you.
I think, to be clear, the question was, are we looking at a specific shift? And my answer was, yes. The specific shift we're looking at is third shift. That's where we're starting.
Okay, so who's making this decision? You?
Pardon me?
Who's making this decision? The board?
The board is making that decision, yes.
And are we going to know when that decision is made? And do we have any input at all on that? Because that is such a safety concern for me. I'll tell you right now, if something happens to my house, or if I need somebody at my house, and there's an issue and we can't get in the gate, or if I can't get my husband in the gate, or something happens and it's middle of the night, something happens to my son, let me tell you, mama here is gonna go crazy. So third shift is not the shift, guys. It's just not the shift. Cut money, cut funds, cut whatever you want. Third shift is not it, guys.
They're not there for emergencies. You call 911 for emergencies. You can get out, in and out if you're a resident.
Okay.
So I'm.
If there's somebody at my house acting crazy, how quickly? Because
You
I
call
just moved here.
911, we do not, the code enforcement does not handle that.
Yeah, we are not security.
They are
Okay,
not
so
secure.
they're just riding around, so, which actually is a good thing for me if you guys do eliminate the third shift, because then I won't stop getting tickets for parking out in front of my house, but.
There you go.
There we go. I found the light. Thank you.
Thank you.
There we go. Found the light. There you go.
You got some time? You got some time yet? You got some time? Nod your head. There you go.
Plenty of time.
Good. First of all, I'll make it very simple. Rich Stratton, want me to volunteer for you?
Unit number?
I did 3. Want me to volunteer? With the wife on the board? Okay, hang on. We won't worry about that one there. I'm sort of working with our lead, and
We're for any committee.
I want to be in a committee. I want to give you a hand. I've experienced in this establishment as being treasurer many years. Arlene and I sat every day we sat, conversing what's going on, every day. Not just once a week or whatever, I can't make it. And during the COVID, the board was in there every day working to take care of you people. That's what it's all about. Am I right, board? You take care of the people, right? So with Arlene, every day I was in there and signing checks. Everything was done by the book. Two people. That's how you do things. Not just one, but two. Another one's Peter. Where's Peter at? There he is. A while back, I was in the office and Peter asked me, I need you to help the board out in the community. And I would use the term force mow. You know what a force mow is? Not force Gump. Force mow. And I'll do it there to bet you right now today. I go to the office of Arlene and I'll pick 10 numbers of the, we'll say 333-001. I'll make the call and the phone number for the backup is wrong. We don't, as the board, take the people, check them out. That's our job, to make sure everybody in here is taken care of. Period. Okay, that's the name of the game. Not just, okay, whatever. And the other thing is too, I want to say, hey, thank the Patty, the chair situation, the next time they come to me for money, it's be a hard time, let me tell you. I gave $10,000, not me, but the community, which is going to be the social dance for the chairs, 330 chairs. So everybody can sit on a chair in here, everybody. And I sat on a chair, Terry, a couple of days ago, the legs were bent out 45 degrees. Anybody say anything? Of course not. Wasn't important to them. It's important to me and Terry and the welfare of the people here. So we got to make sure we look at everything and have a two-person concept on doing checks on it.
Thank you.
Esther White, Unit 4. Sue's right. We do respond overnight. We do the wellness checks. We go there when they call. We beat the police there. I'm sorry. We do tell them to call 911. However, code enforcement does go. I drive. I know.
But is that your part of
Yes,
your job?
I'm here for the
description?
community. If we pull up with lights on, they're more than likely to run if somebody's trying to break in or if somebody's laying on the floor. Who do you think responds first? It's not the ambulance. It takes 30 minutes sometimes for an ambulance to get in here.
So I think next year as we.
And if you review
put
the
together-
tapes, you'll see it.
Thank you. What I was gonna say was, I think next year as we review our budget process, we can look to put more money into the budget to provide more security services if that's something the residents want. At this point, because the budget went backwards, and we're now working under the last approved budget for 2024 at $50 per lot per month. Cuts have got to be made, and those were decisions that we, the residents, made when we said we're not, approving, an added budget. So that's what we're working with. I'm sorry it's not unfolding the way you want it. So without any further member comments, I move to adjourn the meeting. Can I get a second?
I second that.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. So we now close the meeting. Thank you, folks. Have a nice evening.